Hello, Irish fans. Welcome to this week's Jack Swarbrick Show. I'm Tamara Brown, the Notre Dame sports blogger, and I'm filling in for Jack Nolan, who is on vacation this week. This edition of the show is on the concourse of the newly renovated Notre Dame football stadium and will feature Notre Dame women's soccer head coach Theresa Romagnolo, sophomore forward Natalie Jacobs, senior associate AD Mike Harrity, and associate athletic director Beth Hunter. Now here are your hosts, Notre Dame Vice President and Director of Athletics, Jack Swarbrick, and Notre Dame football offensive lineman, Sam Bush.
Welcome. Sam, 5-1 at the break. It's a good place to be.
Feels good. We're happy with where we're at right now.
What were your takeaways from the North Carolina win?
You know, they are a much better team than their record shows. And the entire week, regardless of who we're playing, anytime we go on the road, it's not going to be an easy thing to do, especially versus a Power 5 team. So going in there, we had a very similar mentality to the one that we did with Miami of Ohio, and that we're going in to play a faceless opponent, and we're going in to take care of our business and not necessarily worry about extraneous factors. You know,
had a new quarterback starting for us, Ian Book.
Yeah.
Brandon's ankle didn't quite respond. His foot sprain didn't quite respond in time, so Ian got the lead. It's a guy you know pretty well and have gotten to observe. What were your impressions of his day?
You know, I thought Ian went in there. He played well. He played with confidence. He was, like I said, he was confident in throwing the ball, and he demanded the kind of respect from our team that he needs to go in there and play quarterback. It's not easy coming in as a young guy, stepping into Phil's shoes. Brandon's done a great job for us in the season thus far. Unfortunately, his ankle didn't hold up, but Ian was ready. Coach Kelly preaches that next man in mentality, and Ian was ready to step up to the plate.
Out of the frying pan into the fire. The second half is certainly jam-packed, but much as in the first half doesn't matter, right? It's not who you're playing, it's how you play.
Exactly. And Coach Kelly, Coach Bayless, everybody has just been preaching that is, like I said just before, it's a faceless opponent. And we're going in every week with the same mentality. We know who we are. We know the kind of football we can play. So that's the goal that we're trying to get at.
It's fall break coming up. Football gets a few days off. Not as much as the rest of the student body, but a few days off. What are your plans?
I'm staying here, beautiful South Bend, Indiana. The trip back home is a little long for 3 days, so I figured I'd enjoy the weather.
It's going to get better, believe me. It's a little chilly here today. Well, we got a jam-packed show,
yeah,
and so let's get on with it. And we'll meet our guest and come back with a stirring finish to the show at the end.
Can't wait.
We'll be back in a minute.
We represent the greatest university in the world. Let's carry that pride tonight onto this field, and let's play for Notre Dame, and let's play for Our Lady. That's how we're playing today. I don't know what next week holds, or the week after, or 3 weeks down the road, but tonight, that's how we're playing this football game.
It's caught beautifully. What a play! Touchdown, Notre Dame! The Irish find a way!
Our first two guests are from Notre Dame women's soccer, the defending ACC regular season champions. Head coach Theresa Romagnolo is in her 4th season with the Irish, and her resume includes 3 NCAA appearances in her first 3 seasons and a 48, 18, and 11 record at Notre Dame. Joining Coach Romagnolo is sophomore forward Natalie Jacobs. Jacobs spent the 2016 season competing with the U.S. U20 national team, and since returning to Notre Dame, she leads the team with 9 goals and 22 points through 14 games. Jacobs has scored 3 game-winning goals this season and was named ACC Offensive Player of the Week after her performance against previously ranked number 11 Clemson. We're happy to have them take some time out of their busy schedule as they prepare for their final regular season home game against Virginia Tech on Saturday night.
Welcome back, Coach. Natalie, thanks for being with us. We're thrilled to have you here. We, given that you're used to the outdoor elements, we decided to do the show in the elements for you, make you feel comfortable. Coach, every year you sign up for the toughest schedule you can create. This year's no exception. Ranked 13th right now in the RPI. What's the strategy for building the schedule annually? You're in a conference that's already so tough. What's your approach?
I mean, we want to challenge ourselves so we're ready for the conference. You know, you look at who we play this year in the ACC, and there's no break, right? So, you know, we want to make sure that we're battle tested. We have an opportunity to try a bunch of different things in our non-conference schedule, and we know what we got. We know what we're about, and we have to deal with some adversity, right, before we head into that tough ACC schedule.
Now, I know a big part of the answer to my next question may be to the right of you, but offensively, the output this year compared to last year has been a significant uptick. What are the factors contributing to that?
This is definitely a big piece of that. We definitely missed Natalie last year when she was off with the U.S. Competing in the World Cup, and it's been awesome to have her back. She's a player who's played a lot of positions in her career. She's played some center back for the national team. For us, we've played her at center mid. We've played her up front. She can just do so many different things. And for us, it's really hard for us to keep her away from the goal because of what she can do. She can break down opponents on the dribble. She's a great passer. But most importantly about her is she's competitive, right? She wants to be on the field. She's a winner. She always wants to try to be involved and make things happen. She's got just fantastic instincts around the goal. And we've had some other players who've done a great job this year. Sandra Yu's been, you know, huge factor for us. She's played midfield. She's played up front. You know, she's done, again, a lot of different things for us. But, again, just so dangerous on the ball, great creativity, great speed, and instincts as well. You know, and Jen Westendorf comes back, you know, this year as a sophomore with more experience. And, again, is scoring goals. So, you know, we've got really right now 3 people who can score at any given moment out there. So it's exciting.
Natalie, you know, we hit on it a little bit, but you spent a decent amount of last year playing for the U.S. national team. And first of all, what an incredible honor. But how do you balance that, you know, national team life where you're out and you're doing your thing for our country, but then coming back and having to go back to work when you get back to school here and having to be a normal student athlete, just like anyone else in the country?
Well, I guess not thinking too much about it, just kind of letting it happen. It's been kind of fun coming back because this team is so awesome, like such cool people, like great players. So it's nice coming back and being familiar with them for sure.
To both of you, what's the challenge ahead now? You're at this point in the season and you're in the home stretch. What are the keys for the remainder of the season?
I'll go first. Okay. I mean, we're at a point where we've got 4 games left of the regular season, and every game is critical, right? I mean, you can't take a game off. We're in a great spot RPI-wise right now, but, you know, every game can affect that RPI in a major way. And we want to set ourselves up at the regular season to be in good standings for the ACC tournament. And to go as far as we can and try to win the ACC tournament, right? Because that again is going to set us up for the NCAA tournament with the highest seed that we can get. So again, we're battle tested. You know, I think we've faced adversity. We've had to overcome and be resilient in different situations. This group's really seen it all at this point. And what we're looking for is to head into every game and to get a result really from this here on out.
Yeah, and going off of that, I think definitely like focusing on one game at a time. I think sometimes it's easy to think about like the tournament later and all that, but I think focusing on the next game and what we can do specifically in that one will really help us stay focused.
Yeah, it is a special challenge in this conference. I from week to week, I always look at how many teams are ranked from the ACC, and it's, you know, it's on both the men's and the women's. It really seems to dominate it. What kind of challenge does that present to you, that every conference game is going to be big?
It's kind of fun because you know that like this is how it's going to be for the rest of the season. Like there's no surprise later that like this is a shock. Like we kind of know what's coming because of our hard schedule, and I think that's just going to build us up stronger for when it comes.
Do we have any injuries that are impacting the team down the stretch?
We do. We had some injuries early on. Haven't had a lot recently, which has been great. So you know, I think the team's gotten fitter. They've adjusted to the players we do have, and I think the chemistry over the last couple of weeks here has really been clicking, which has been fun.
Every team has a personality. What's the personality of this team?
Ooh, I'll let Jay answer that one. Does that have anything to do with Sundays?
Yeah, that's what came to my mind first. Sundays.
Yeah, I guess.
I think working together. We've been working together really well lately. Everyone's working for the person next to them, and all around the field, like, we're building up together, so it's not just like one person go and get it. It's in like packs or groups. So I think it's like really good that we've all been on the same page with that. So unity.
Where would you think that comes from? You know, where's that kind of spurred from?
Well, going off of Sandra Yu, when she mentioned her earlier, she's a great leader. She like leads by example, and you see her sprinting around the field and getting into tackles, and like seeing that for all of us is like, okay, now we need to go too, and that's a huge positive for us when she's out there.
Now, before we came on the air, we had a little old home week here. 2 Orange County residents comparing notes from their time there. I know his story of how he wound up here. What's yours?
Well, 2010, when they won the national championship here, I remember just being like, oh, I want to go there. Like watching on TV, being like, that's cool. And then looking into it a little bit more, I remember talking to my parents about it and seeing the faith side of it was huge. When I saw how much faith and community was at the school, I was like, that's different than some other places. And obviously the soccer and academics go along with it. But yeah, I came to visit here and I knew right away like this was different than the other places.
Colder.
Definitely colder, yes. I came when it was warm, so I wasn't ready for that.
Well, we recruit strategically here. We know what we're doing.
You pick all the nice weekends to bring out.
We try. Our soccer programs share a facility, share a pitch. What do you have much interaction with the men's team?
Yeah, we're pretty close with them. It's always cool when we're playing and you can look over and see them right on the side of the field saying like ridiculous comments that make us laugh. It makes it a little funnier on the field. But yeah, definitely close with them, and we like to support each other, which is always nice.
Yeah, they bring the furniture out.
They do.
They bring the lounge chairs out in front of their locker room.
Yes.
A little heckling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just a little.
Just a little.
Just a little. I'm usually by them. I'm keeping an eye on that. We want to keep the officials on our side.
I don't know, man. Last week I saw them joining in right with them.
That happens from time to time. Well, good luck the rest of the season. We look forward to seeing what unfolds. It's you're coming off a year where you were the regular season conference champs, which is an incredible achievement, a great honor, and another great year. And hopefully this year we'll add the conference tournament championship, right?
Absolutely.
On our way to NCAA success. So thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
We'll be back in a minute.
Guest is Senior Associate Athletic Director Mike Harrity, who works directly with Notre Dame student athletes. Harrity helps impact the student-athlete experience with the Rosenthal Leadership Academy, career development, community service, athletic training, and more. He also serves as the sport administrator for the women's soccer program and works closely with the athletics advancement team, which includes the advisory council for student athletes. I expect to hear a lot about performance support and how to maximize the potential of a student athlete in this segment with Mike Harrity.
Mike, welcome. Great to have you on the show.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks, Sam.
We'll get to all that performance stuff, but our guests tonight include the leadership of the women's soccer team.
Yes.
You're the sport administrator for that sport.
I am.
So help our audience understand what a sport administrator does in the Notre Dame model.
Well, one thing is you're the receiver of apparently heckling, because the guests from the previous section stayed right off camera to heckle me. So thank you, Natalie and Theresa.
It was easy, though.
Yeah, easy target.
Yeah,
easy target.
Yeah.
You know, the sport administrator model is as I first got here 5.5 years ago, sat down with you and talked about, what is your vision for that? It's really to play any support role that we can to ultimately support not only the head coach, but also help that head coach create the environment they intend to create. So how are we intentional about that? How do we create clarity and structures and just that support? And then also I have the tremendous advantage of my primary role working so closely with student athletes that I get to build relationships within my primary role that was just outlined, but also, it's on the buses with them to, we were just in Charlottesville next week. I'm going with them to Florida next week. And it's just an overall support. I think, kind of if you're the team president, I'd kind of serve in a general manager type role to help support that head coach. I play a big role in recruiting. Love that. She's only brought, I think, one 12-year-old, maybe a couple 13-year-olds. It's so young in women's soccer, but they're all phenomenally talented and wonderful young people. So I really enjoy that part as well.
He's Charlottesville and he's headed to Florida. You think if they played in Fargo, he'd go with them?
Oh, that's a question for him.
I think it'd be busy.
I'm just going to shoot that over on that way.
Yeah,
what do you have for us, Mike?
Mike, your primary role involves all services that touch a student athlete. Yep. We'll get to the sports performance side of it in a minute, but let's talk a little bit first about an element of our program that's so critical to our success, and that is leadership development, and how your department helps all of our sports tackle leadership.
It was a priority that you first talked to me about really the need for us to home grow our own program. I think the Notre Dame student athlete experience is so unique in so many ways that to go have a consultant just off the shelf, that's just not going to work here. So what we did is underwent a very thorough process of talking to sport administrators, talking to student athletes, talking to coaches, and saying, what is this student athlete experience, and ultimately how can we deliver a program that best supports them? And so there's a huge focus. I mean, every year we've sharpened our approach. There's a lot more head coach involvement in recent years, which has been a really fun thing. I think when you create that structure and permission in a venue to facilitate a conversation between a head coach and the leaders that they've designated to be a part of this program, many times it's captains, powerful things happen. Conversations happen that maybe don't otherwise happen on a team bus, in a hotel, in a team room. The other thing that's been so cool, and I got this note yesterday from somebody who was a participant in the Rosenthal Leadership Academy, named after our former athletics director, Dick Rosenthal, who generously supports the program, is somebody graduated 2 years ago and talked about the impact of going to a retreat had in their life that was really unknown to me until I got this letter yesterday. And part of that was not only a self-discovery of them sharing a part of their story and their journey that they had struggled with, but also saw as a sign of strength, but the support they got from fellow student athletes, not only teammates, but student athlete leaders from other teams, who are some of their best friends to this day, one of whom is going to be in the wedding of this student athlete from another team. And I'm thinking, that's a powerful heart connection, right? Like that's a powerful relationship. And when I see that, I'm thinking, I do a lot of things that aren't good at all, and I certainly make mistakes, but I think the structure that we've provided is allowing for that, and ultimately it's going to serve them well, not only as a leader within the teams here, but beyond graduation as well. We believe that that self-awareness piece, but also a more connected team. Natalie talked about it earlier. Our soccer team has it. They really care deeply about each other, and they have that connection. And when you have that connection, and I know part of your story, I might be more willing to hold you accountable whenever I know that you can give more to the team, and you'll know it's coming from a good place, from a sincere place, from a genuine place. To say you might bristle and say, get out of my face, we're in practice and all of that, but ultimately it's like, I know you're capable of this, bring more. And I think when we can create that more consistently, we'll absolutely see the impact, not only on the fields, on the courts, and the pools, but I think notes like the one I got yesterday about this person I met at this retreat, we built this bond, who they leaned on each other during their time here about team issues and team dynamic issues, and how do you talk to this freshman, how do you get this junior on board, and now one's going to be in the other's wedding, and that just brings, I think that's the real reason we do what we do. That's the why, the impact that we can hopefully have on our student athletes, and the value we can add to their life and their development as a human.
It's implicit in the answer you just gave us, but is there enough commonality between the fencer and the football player, or the basketball player and the soccer player?
Stole my question.
Is that your question?
Yeah.
He does that. He does that.
Great minds think alike. So
is that what it is?
I'll take
okay.
it as a compliment.
That's what it is. All right.
To take a common approach to leadership development.
Absolutely. And as evidence, I'd say go to the women's soccer game on Saturday night and see how many of their Rosenthal fellow participants come support them. So you'll see Bree Turner there cheering on Sandra Yu. You'll see it's just a phenomenal thing to see. So yes, there's different amounts of, one's a team or one's more individual and all that, but people are people and relationships are relationships. I think one thing we've talked a lot about is that given the advent introduction, the how pervasive social media is, the ability to have a conversation like the one I just described with you, to call you out, to be direct, to have that conversation, is not one that comes easily, because we're texting, we're tweeting, we're Instagram, we're Snapchat, we're all of that. So ultimately, yes. So that fencer, especially our national championship fencing team, some of his best friends. So Hazem Kazbek is a captain on that team. He's somebody who came back for a year or two, wanted to serve in a more elevated role as a peer facilitator. And he has said some of my best friends at Notre Dame are those who are on other teams that I've met through this, and we have lunch together, dinner together to talk about team dynamic issues.
But that's a great byproduct, great byproduct of the program. Now, you alluded before we came on the air to a story involving my co-host.
Yeah.
Oh God, here we go.
Here we go. And
I don't know what is coming on here. So
I kind of just want to kind of the verbal or nonverbal ellipses and just kind of let it hang out there while you're anxious and you're thinking about this.
To our award-winning listeners, I have no idea what's going on, so I'm right there with you.
So we the credit goes to really she should double as a talent scout, but Claire Vennard is our assistant athletics director for student welfare and development, and she had the great pleasure of sitting next to your co-host at an etiquette dinner that the football team had. Many of us played a facilitator role within our teams, and she turns to him and says, "Hi, I'm Claire," and you say, "I'm Ham. I'm Ham Bush. Please call me Ham." Okay, Ham. So she shakes your hand.
I'll give it to you. I'll humor you.
Ham then proceeds to start showing up, gracing us with his presence at Student Athlete Advisory Council meetings. When he signs in Ham Bush. And it goes, and so it goes. And I think about, she came back that next day and said, "I met this guy who's a character. We got to find something for him." So here we are, probably a year and a half, 2 years later, and the word on the street, I don't know what street, but some street, is that you're the odds-on favorite to host the Oscars, the All-Student Athlete Awards show. That's what the people want. I think it's what the people want.
Hey, I'll give the people what they want.
Popular demand. So you've heard from his mom and dad. Anybody else call in?
So funny story about that nickname.
Ham.
Andrew Trimbetti gave me that nickname my freshman summer because we were sitting in Calc 1, and he just kept staring at me, and I'm like, kind of looked at him. We didn't really know each other very well at the time. We're best friends now, but I'm like, "You all right, dude? You looking at something?" And he goes, you really remind me of Hamilton Porter from The Sandlot, the little catcher." And he's like, you look exactly like he grew up. So not so much the guys on the football team, but a lot of my friends outside of athletics and things still call me Hambone or like Hamilton. I actually had a girl earlier this year come up to me and ask me what my real name was. And I'm like, "Well, it's Sam." And she said, "I swear, I thought for the last 4 years your name was Ham Porter."
So there it is.
Well, I learned something tonight. Yeah, that you took us in a direction I never would have anticipated.
Learn something new every day.
Well, beyond leadership and nicknames,
yes.
The other area of expertise is the area that you read so much about and so much focus today in college athletics, and it's sort of the science of our sport. Mm-hmm. That's player safety, it's medical services, it's performance sciences. What are the priorities for us in those areas?
So many. The number one, we've gotten a lot better. We need to get better, but our priority has been to really understand our athletes on the front end. Who is coming in here and how do they move? We believe that we want our athletes to move well and move fast. And I think part of that, we have a tremendous partner in Dari. It's a 3D motion capture system that it's 19 movements that you do. You've done it multiple times. And it really gives us a heat map of your body and the areas that you're moving efficiently and those that you're not. So it could be a right ankle flexion issue. It could be, a left shoulder. And then the thought is that our then sports performance professionals, frontline practitioners, then intervene and help you work on that ankle flexion. Maybe it's a 5 or 7 minutes before your workout. And we're getting in there because right now, so that's our priority, to understand not only how they move, but who they are. And I think we're getting better with that because that's where we can deliver more tailored portfolio of services to help them get where we want to go. We promised during the recruiting process to maximize their potential academically, athletically, and growth as a person, and we can only do that if we understand that. Another priority that I know you charged me with a few years ago is to really find those folks on campus, faculty members, who are passionate about the space, who their narrow area of research hits smack dab in the middle of something that would really help us and help ultimately you and other student athletes. So we have two exciting things happening with that. We have had two all year. We will have two applied computational math and statistics students who are coming in and helping us with our data analysis, and I'll get into the project. But Larry Mastrovich and his family created the Mastrovich Fund for Sports Performance, and that funds students to get practically applied experience in our setting. They're gaining tremendous experience from it. We're gaining the value of that work, and I think at our best, that's what it looks like, is that we're working closely with a faculty member who's overseeing those students and giving them that experience. The project they're currently working on is tying DARI to injury rates. So looking at injury rates in our healthy athlete portal and seeing how many soft tissue injuries, what types of soft tissue injuries, and how do those things match up with their movement pattern that we saw from the 19 movements in DARI. It's preliminary. I don't want to share, but yet, just because we're not there yet. But it's really illuminating our process. We're on track with some things, and we can only get better. The other one is we've partnered with Australian Catholic University. So again, the priority is partnerships. They're premier Catholic university. They also have a high-performance master's that's globally recognized. We partnered with them, campuses as well, to the provost's office, but our piece of that is that we currently have 2 interns for credit who are master's level students who are helping us live track. They're helping with football GPS catapult data, so player load and all of that. They're helping us with analysis projects. They're in here, and again, they're getting that practically applied experience in our setting. Really exciting, and perhaps you'll have me back on to talk about it. We are partnering with them on a high-performance summit, really a global summit around athlete performance and human performance, and that's going to happen next June, along with Australian Catholic University and Under Armour. So Paul Winsper, the Vice President of Athlete Performance, will play a lead role in that. So this guy doesn't give us all the budget in the world, but I think that forces us to be more creative and innovative. So I get on the phone a lot and just say, hey, you want to do some cool stuff that'll help our student athletes, and I've we found a couple, and that's fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's a tight guy, this boss.
His words.
This guy.
Yeah. No.
So you can't do anything because we're on TV.
Yeah.
Do you see products, technologies, things we own coming out of this?
I do. I actually had this, I see revenue generation opportunities. I haven't talked to you about them yet, so I probably won't talk about them here, but something with our orthopedic surgeons. I talk a lot with them of when you're in your operating room, what are you seeing? Is there something that would be really more helpful to you? And then where we got was, is there a community impact component of what we do? Can we help make the local people healthier? And I think DARI can play a role in that. So always thinking about that. On the invention piece, yes, we have a lot of smart people in our sports performance area. I had a great talk with Coach Bayless today about out of nowhere. Like I was over in the Goog, and I came by and I started talking to him. He said, you know what would be cool? And he proceeds to tell me something that would be cool. And I thought, that would be cool. Does that exist? So I go back and Google it. And again, patent pending. I don't want to share anything here, but absolutely. And I think that's what you've done, what you do so many things so well, but truly, as the leader of our athletic department and my boss, our conversations, you're always pushing to be more creative, to find that partnership that'll open a door that we wouldn't even have thought about looking for, let alone opening, if we didn't have this partner help us kind of determine that journey, determine that path. And I think, so we're always thinking, that's the fun challenge of the role, is when you're talking about human performance, you can always get better, and that's our aim.
Sam, from an athlete's perspective, how is the introduction of this during your time here, whether it's GPS or catapult or anything else you might have intersected through your experience? How's it impacted you?
Definitely the thing that I've been most exposed to personally has been the GPS and the catapults, which is an incredible system that they've done. It's just a little digital transponder that they put in the back of each guy's pads, and it just tracks how many steps they're taking, how much load they're carrying, how much they're moving, which is great information that's then sent back to the coaches. And our great strength staff, our trainers can look at that and be like, okay, Mike McGlinchey took a substantially high amount of reps today, and he got a huge load in. So we gotta watch him when we put him out next time, so he doesn't burn out. And it's just that meticulousness and those little things that are all adding up to make all the difference.
Mike, one of the important additions heading into this year has been on the mental health side of our business, and you helped us bring in 2 really talented people to assist us with that. Give us a little background.
Yeah, so we really saw the need with the unique demand stressors that student athletes face nationally. I think our student athletes here as well, and just college mental health nationally. If you asked any director of a counseling center on a university campus, they would absolutely say they don't have enough staff. Give me 5, give me 10 more. Because I think as the confluence of events that happen in a college student's life of transitioning into college, the demands of the academic rigor, especially the athlete culture piece, we needed somebody to help us understand that and address that in an individual counseling way, but also an opportunity to somebody with a skill set who's a licensed psychologist, but also could be a consultant to coaches and help them with team dynamic issues, team performance issues, sports performance issues. So we set out, we were admittedly a little behind nationally, and we set out to find our #1 recruit, just like any head coach would, and we found 2 people who've been phenomenal. We first hired Dr. Nikki Sims, who's a counseling sports psychologist. We recruited her from a school down in Southern California that might be on our football schedule, and she's come in and just hit the ground running on August 1st. She's been here for 7 weeks. She was joined by Joey Raymaker, Dr. Joey Raymaker from Iowa State, master's at Boston College, and PhD at North Texas, which is one of the top sports performance programs, sports psychology programs in the country. And since school started to today, I met with them. They've already seen a third of all the student athletes seen by all of the counseling center staff over in the counseling center. I believe that the timing was right for this, in that last year's SAC, I referenced Student Athlete Advisory Council earlier tonight. Last year, student athletes came forward and said, this is really important. We need somebody, just a confidential person to speak with, somebody who can help provide us strategies on how to navigate the pressures of this world. Sometimes it's going in there and saying, I'm having trouble with my free throws. Can you help me with some visualization, some deep breathing? They're skilled on, they can pivot on the challenges that any college student would face in terms of homesickness, a transition issue, maybe a depression. But then it can go to that other sort of performance piece, that mental performance piece. And so they started a petition. Student athletes from every one of our teams signed it, turned it in, and I think that's what really helped us push it over kind of that line. And tremendous partners in student affairs on campus. The director of the counseling center has been a tremendous support. So they report to the counseling center, physically housed in the Joyce Center, embedded within athletics. And what we're learning is that the demand is there. We are going to launch a campaign of former student athletes who speak about the help that they received while they were here and the importance of it. And that will be something that Fighting Irish Media will help us with, just an internal marketing campaign to current student athletes to say, it's not weakness to want to talk to somebody. It's not weakness to say, if you have an ankle roll, you're going to go see your athletic trainer. If you're struggling or frustrated with a situation, here's somebody else to help you with your mental game and that mental approach. So we're very excited. Thank you for helping make it possible, and we got the 2 best recruits in the country, and we're really positioned well for it.
Well, Mike, thanks for we touched on a lot in this segment, and it's a testament to all you're doing to help our student athletes, whether it's leadership, mental health, sports performance, a whole range of things. And thanks for those contributions. Thanks for your contributions to our women's soccer team, and good luck the rest of the year.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks, Ham.
We'll be back in a minute.
Senior Associate Athletics Director Beth Hunter. Hunter worked closely with the Campus Crossroads Project as well as other master planning for athletic facilities. As a 14-year veteran of the Notre Dame Athletics Department, she has also overseen the Notre Dame Monogram Club and the Office of Equipment and Apparel Services. On the national level, she also served a term on the National Association of Collegiate Marketing Administrators from 2006 to 2010. She was also a member of the National Letter Winners Association while working with the Monogram Club. I can't wait to hear more about the Campus Crossroads project in this segment with Beth Hunter.
Beth, welcome.
Thank you.
We are here in less than ideal conditions because we want to feature your work. You and Missy Convoy played the lead role for us in figuring out how to capture this space in a way that reflected the values and the messages we wanted to spend or convey. Tell us a little bit about the process from your perspective.
Well, first of all, thank you, Jack, for the opportunity. It was unbelievable to be part of a team who had the chance to work on what I would consider, and many would consider to be, probably the most iconic venue in all of college sports. So the process for us really started when the concourse came online as a focus for us in 2015. We hired a firm called ADMI in March of 2015. They actually are comprised of former Disney Imagineers out in California, and together we set out to reimagine Notre Dame Stadium, all along with our mantra being, what would Knute Rockne have built today if he had had the opportunity? And word on the street is he was quite an innovator. So that was really our goal, to celebrate the original 1930 stadium, particularly on the lower concourse, but infuse the most modern technology and conveniences that our fans were really looking for and what we wanted to provide to them. So the journey started there. We worked through a series of meetings and brainstorming sessions and checkpoints with Jack and other leaders on campus to make sure that where we were moving was in line with where the university thought we should be. And ultimately we came up with a set of renderings, and I actually recently looked back at those renderings. It's unbelievable to see how closely what we executed in the concourse actually matches those original renderings they came up with. So from there, we actually hired two firms that are a little bit closer to us, a company called IDS out of Troy, Michigan, and another graphics firm and design firm called Cardosi Kuiper, and they're out of Chicago. And so then for the next 2 years, we worked together, Missy and I, along with Julie Boynton, who's the director of interior architecture on campus. You know, we worked through many series of meetings on everything that fans and guests now see throughout the existing stadium concourse, both lower bowl, upper bowl, restrooms, concession stands, and even took it a little bit outside the stadium as well.
What are the execution elements you're most proud of? It's always hard to pick among your kids, but
I was going to say that's an unfair question. It's like asking which of my children I love more, and I would say it depends on the day. So, if you
spoken like a true mother.
So there's a few elements I think are really special and unique to Notre Dame in particular, and one you can see throughout the concourse here today featured are some of the program covers that we were able to identify and find in archives. Our university archives has an unbelievable collection of vintage programs and other really unique artifacts. So it was so fun for us to identify, handpick approximately 70 programs that we now feature throughout. They encircle the entire lower concourse. They range from the 1920s through about the 1960s. We found that the period of programs from the late 60s through, say, mid-80s weren't so visually appealing, so we tried to stick a little bit more vintage in that regard. And the other neat thing about the programs, especially on the west side, which will be the path of the stadium tour, we worked with John Heisler and some others to identify some programs that had really unique stories associated with them. So, for example, I think 1936 was the first year that we beat a #1 team, so that program's on the west side. We have a program from 1963 that was a game that was supposed to be played at Iowa that was ultimately canceled and never played because of the Kennedy assassination. So there's some really neat, unique stories that are tied to some of the programs we picked, and I also think it gave us a chance to infuse some color and vibrance to the concourse. So everything, you know, we have a great brand, and we made sure that we really played up the Notre Dame brand, which is so powerful, but it was nice to be able to feature some Notre Dame graphics that had a little bit more color as well.
What's it like for you coming on a college game day Saturday and seeing your baby just in full force with all of Notre Dame Nation in here just enjoying this unbelievable product that you guys built?
You know, I'll say heading into the first home game, it was a mix of a little bit of anxiety because the best laid plans, you know, once you're living in the space, it tends to be a little bit different, but also a real sense of joy. I was really excited to, that very first game, the Temple game, to walk the concourses, and it was interesting to see how slowly fans were traversing around the concourse, just taking everything in. But, you know, now we're focused on what are those changes and tweaks and adjustments that we can make now that we are living in the space that maybe more operationally and less design tied, we think we can continue to enhance. One example I'll share, we were really unsure how there's 149 monitors now throughout the concourse, and obviously with the addition of the video board, which is outstanding in terms of size and content, we were unsure how the monitors and the content would change fan behavior inside the concourse and how that might impact lines for restrooms or lines for concession stands. So we're monitoring that. We're monitoring also a big move for us in celebrating the original Rockne Stadium and uplighting some of that original brick. We also wanted to move all of the portable concession stands away from that original brick so we could continue to celebrate that. So again, the repositioning of all the portable concession stands, which are all new, and a new mix of offerings in terms of concession menu items thanks to our partner Levy. We were unsure how those changes were going to impact lines and the fan experience. So we continue to do walkthroughs about 3 hours before every game. We have a group consisting of athletics department representatives and other colleagues on campus and external partners as well. We'll walk the concourse and look at everything, and then we'll do that again in-game, halftime, and later in the game and post-game, and then we sort of regroup and continue to make tweaks and changes.
Man, you're good. You're like a NASCAR driver. You've gotten every partner's name and built into the answers. This is
checking the boxes.
This is really good. We focus thus far on this remarkable concourse, and the thing I love about it is that it recaptures the history. When we made the addition 20 years ago, we didn't have the resources to do that, so we poured concrete. To go back in and brick those columns and put in period lighting, I think has a great impact. But it's not the extent of your work. There are less public places that you also had a big impact on the north end of the stadium and the south end of the stadium. Let's start with the north end and tell us about the elements and the planning that went into that.
Sure. That project was really unique and special also. When we talked about the concourse, it was really all about what are those things that we can do to enhance the experience of our guests and fans who come to enjoy a football game or another event in the stadium. And now that was underway, what do we do for the team? So, you know, the north tunnel is sort of that crown jewel of the stadium, and it's the place where you see everyone popping their head in the main gate to try to take, or the Rockne gate to try to take a picture there, and obviously so many traditional elements and iconic spaces within that. So it was a really delicate balance of how do you create a space that is a wow factor and resonates with recruits, where you're wanting to sell obviously the history and tradition of Notre Dame football, but also show how, you know, we're very relevant and modern and moving forward with technology and such. How do you balance that with the original Rockne locker room? So the spaces that we renovated inside are the Chivarelli Lounge, which primarily is used on Friday nights to host football monogram winners and their families, and then a great new space to host recruits and their families for the football program. That's probably the most modern of all of our spaces that we created. We reused the original stadium bleacher wood wherever we could in the project, and a lot of it is in that space, but restained and redone in such a way that it appears more modern and new. There's some unique elements in the Chivarelli. So we have great technology throughout that space, but we also brought in some of the traditions. So the national championship rings are actually mounted in the desk. I don't know, did you know that?
I didn't know that one.
You'll have to go check it out.
That's
yeah,
cool.
If you look inside the top of the desk, they're mounted in there, and that's really neat. So that's sort of a historical piece that we brought in there. And one of my favorite elements in the Chivarelli is a glass wall when you walk in on the left. And Missy had recalled the neat theming aspect from when she had visited the Cotton Bowl offices, and that iconic plays were etched into glass. So we we wanted to think about if any of those plays existed in archives. We couldn't find any, so we went over to Ara Parsegian's house a year ago, last summer, and he actually drew up the 1973 Sugar Bowl Tom Clements to Robin Weber pass, and we had it etched up on that glass. So that was pretty unique and special too.
On the south end, we have developed a really remarkable hospitality space, cleverly named the South Club. And it probably more than any place in the facility captures the history of Notre Dame.
Yeah, this was the space where probably was the most time intensive in terms of identifying all the graphics and archives and memorabilia that were going to be on display there. But it's a really unique space. It almost has the vibe of a gastropub type feel. It's got penny tile floor, amazing custom furniture, some of which was built out of the old bleacher wood in the stadium. And then there's more than 600 framed images that really tell the story of the past and the present and the future and where we're going. Inside the main bar dining area, we celebrate each national championship team as well as the current team. We have a bar area called Harper's, and there's a lot of great pageantry photography and old program covers and sheet music from the fight song and the alma mater. There's just some really unique pieces in there. I think if you walk in as a fan or if you're a member of that club on a football game day, I think you could walk in there and spend hours and still never see anything. It's one of those spaces where every time I think you experience that space, you're going to notice something new in there the next time you go in.
So do a little marketing for me. Who gets to use the South Club?
So the South Club is still available. And since the rest of our premium seating, I've heard, is now sold out on the east and the west side, the South Club, I think, is an amazing hospitality area for fans that want to experience that on a game day. So a season ticket holder can purchase on a season basis a membership to that club. It's open 2 hours pregame. It's open throughout the game. It's got an incredible menu. And then it's open 2 hours post-game as well, and it's the host site of the post-game show. So for after the game, fans can have a chance to unwind and let all the traffic dissipate while they sit and enjoy some food and beverage in a great space.
Well, Beth, thanks for the imprint that you have all over this facility. I know it'll be fun for you for years to come back in here and see your handiwork every time you're in the facility, and you and Missy made a huge difference in this and really helped us capture the vision of what we wanted to do. So thank you so much for that. And now, as the sport administrator for men's soccer, go win an NCAA championship, okay?
That's next on the agenda.
All right, thanks, Beth. We'll be
so
back
much.
in a minute.
An Irish blessing. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face, and the rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand.
We are the University of Notre Dame.
It's time to wrap up this week's edition of the Jack Swarbrick Show. Here are your hosts, Jack Swarbrick and Sam Bush.
Welcome back. It was a jam-packed show. I learned an awful lot today from our guest. It was a good one. Lot happening this week. A lot of great accomplishments. But I want to focus for a minute on a really outstanding performance by our swimming teams. They recorded their first wins in the history of the program over top 10 opponents, both defeating Louisville. The men won 153 to 146 over number 7 ranked Louisville, and the women won 181 to 118 over number 9 Louisville. Two members of the team, Zach Yaden and sophomore Abby Dolan, were named National Swimmers of the Week on Tuesday, the first time that's ever happened in the history of our program. Dolan won the 50, 100, and 200 freestyle events, and Zach broke a pair of facility records, winning the 500 and 1,000 freestyle in the process. So a program that continues to do great things. Outside of Notre Dame athletics, the other big musical story this week was the passing of a legend, Tom Petty. And Sam, you're going to play us out with a little tribute to Tom.
Yeah, here we go. loves Jesus and America too. She's a good girl, crazy about Elvis, loves horses and a boyfriend too, yeah. And it's a long day living in Reseda. There's a freeway running through the yard, and I'm a bad boy, 'cause I don't even miss her. I'm a bad boy for breaking her heart, and I'm free. I'm free falling. Said I'm free. I'm free falling. And all the vampires walking through the valley, they move west down Ventura Boulevard. And I'm a bad boy, 'cause I don't even miss her. Said I'm a bad boy, breaking her heart. I'm free, free falling. Said I'm free, I'm free falling. I wanna glide down over Mulholland. I wanna write her name in the sky. I wanna free fall out into nothing. I'm gonna leave this world for a while, 'cause I'm free. I'm free falling, 'cause I'm free. I'm free falling.
Music has never sounded so good inside the concourse at Notre Dame Stadium. Thanks, Sam. We'll be back next week.